his first words, and this is not even an exaggeration when I say this, a lot of people come at me saying, why would a doctor say that? But this was his first words to me were, baby has features that don't belong to mum and dad. I didn't know what he was going on about. I thought, what?
Welcome to Share Your Story with Saima. And I would like to say a massive thank you for coming onto my show again. We have a problem with the previous video and the chat, so with such short notice as well. As I did mention, this episode in particular is my EID special, and I don't want to give too much away. So tell me a little bit about yourself first.
So I'm Jenna, mum of 3, 16-year-old, 15-year-old, and youngest Musa who has Down syndrome. A stay-at-home mum, so I don't work. Carer to Musa, really. So yeah, I'm just kind of like trying to find my way out into the world now, slowly.
Oh, bless. You mentioned your youngest has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
What is Down syndrome, please?
Right. So Down syndrome is, a lot of people, there's a big misconception going around that I'm seem to be hearing a lot about at the moment, because on social media sites and people leaving comments that it's due to cousin marriages, but that's actually not true. Down syndrome has nothing to do with cousin marriages, and to be honest, actually we're proof that it doesn't, because I didn't marry my cousin. So if that is a reason it happens, then why did it happen to me? So that's a big misconception. So Down syndrome basically happens by chance. It's an off chance thing that the fetus ends up with 3 copies of the 21st chromosome. So it's just happens by chance. It happens to anybody, and it's just basically the way they are. It's just the way they've been created. So yeah, so that's what Down syndrome is.
How was your pregnancy like? Did you know during your pregnancy?
Well, there was a way to find out, because they do offer some kind of test which isn't 100%, but they give you kind of a little grey area as to say that you may be having a child with Down syndrome. But I've never taken that test, not just for Musa, but even for my other pregnancies. I've refused to take that test, only because to me, I've got nothing against other women choosing to take that test. I feel it's everybody's personal choice. I personally didn't want to take it because, for me, I was going to have my children, so I was going to deliver my children and have my children, regardless of whatever disabilities they were going to have. I was going to deal with that afterwards. And another reason I didn't want to find out is because they didn't really pick up anything during the pregnancy, because I had a really nice pregnancy, a really laid back pregnancy. There was nothing, to be honest. A lot of times I've never even felt I was pregnant until he actually started moving. So I didn't feel like I needed anything to kind of dampen my pregnancy and take away that joy, because in my head he was my last child. So I wanted to kind of like enjoy my pregnancy with him as much as possible. So I just didn't want anything there that was gonna like kind of get me upset or depressed about. So I chose not to take the test. So yeah, we found out when he was born, when they picked up little things when he was born.
So just before you tell me about how you found out, do you feel that you regret your decision and maybe you should have found out earlier?
No, I don't. I've never felt that. Actually, the more stories that I've heard of mums on groups that I've joined, and generally mums that I've met in person in groups and things like that, I actually feel I'm so glad I didn't, because I don't know if you know, but there's a big kind of negativity around pregnancies that are going to be a child with Down syndrome. They quite medical professionals are quite negative towards those pregnancies, and a lot of women that I have met have heartbreaking stories where they've every time they've gone for a scan, they've been reminded that would you like booking for a termination? Would you like to, you can still, and these were when your baby's like 8 months, 9 months old. I mean, some babies are born at 6 months, and just imagine at 8 months somebody's asking you, would you like to terminate your pregnancy? So actually, when I hear stories like that, I'm grateful that I didn't find out, and nobody put me, I wasn't going to change my mind anyway, but it's heartbreaking to even be asked, isn't it, that would you like to terminate your pregnancy?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you think, is that even a question that you should be asking? But moving on, you mentioned you found out when Musa was born. So tell me about how it all happened, please.
Right, so when I went into hospital because I couldn't feel him move. I knew I was in labour. I was having contractions, and then the contractions kind of died down by the evening, and I didn't feel him move anymore. So from about 5 o'clock in the evening, I didn't feel him move anymore. So then round about 12 o'clock, I ended up ringing the hospital just saying that, I've not felt my baby move since 5 o'clock in the evening, and what do you want me to do? My pains have gone as well. So they were quite worried about that, because obviously he wasn't moving. So they said, just come in and we'll have a look and everything. So when I went in, my birth story is quite tragic, really, because it's very traumatic the way everything just happened. Like, the only best bit about it was that he was actually alive, but it was like from the whole birth was just tragic. So I went in. As soon as I went in, they hooked me on the machine. They couldn't find his heartbeat, so basically they couldn't find the heartbeat. So the like doctors were rushing in and out. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't even know whether he was alive. So then they said, oh, we'll break your waters and we'll have to see if we can pick up a heartbeat by putting something on his skull. So they did that. Again, they couldn't find a heartbeat. So then they said, we're going to have to just take you in for an emergency C-section and just take it from there, but we don't know what's going on. So they took me in for a C-section, like literally, like I'd gone in, and within half an hour, I was basically being, cut open, and he was being taken out. They took him out. He was basically blue when they took him out because he wasn't breathing. That part has nothing to do with Down syndrome. That he was born not breathing was nothing to do with him having Down syndrome. It was because he'd twisted the umbilical cord around his neck. So the umbilical cord was tightly twisted around his neck, so basically like he couldn't breathe. So they just took him in and resuscitated him, and literally, like, 5-10 seconds later he started crying. But even then it was just like a croaky cry. It wasn't really a cry because he was just so, like, pale. So after he was born, when they kind of stitched me up and everything and took me to my room, this was like about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour after I'd given birth, and I'd had a bit of reaction to the medicine that they'd given me as well at the time. So my whole body had got itchy and shaky. So I was kind of like not with it. So I didn't really know what was going on. And then the baby doctor came in, and he was like, it was a young doctor, and he came in, and he just didn't have a smile on his face. He looked like very like stressed. And then, he said, because my friend was in the room that time, and he said, oh, I need to speak to the mum and dad. So can I just speak to them in private? So then my friend left. So then it was just me and my husband. And his first words, and this is not even an exaggeration when I say this, a lot of people come at me saying, why would a doctor say that? But this was his first words to me were, baby has features that don't belong to mum and dad. I didn't know what he was going on about. I thought, what? My husband was holding him, and I just looked at him from across the room, and I thought, what does he mean? I thought, because I'd heard of children being born where, they didn't have like lips or weren't formed and stuff like that, or their nose isn't formed. So in my head I was thinking to myself, has he got something like that? Is that what he means? Is he like, you know, kind of like deformed in some kind of way? But I can't see anything. His nose and his eyes and everything look all right to me. So then I just looked at him kind of shocked, and then he said it again. He said, oh, the baby has features that don't belong to mum and dad. And I said, oh, I don't understand what you mean. I said, his features look completely fine to me. And then he started going on about his features, and he said, oh, you know, can you see slanted eyes? He doesn't have the bridge in his nose. I mean, I couldn't see anything at the time, because, you know, obviously when everybody thinks that, you know, especially after you give birth, you can look at your child and you think your child is the most beautiful child in the world. So to me, my child was the most beautiful child in the world. So I couldn't see anything like that. I could afterwards, but at that time I couldn't. So and then after he mentioned those, he said, well, those are markers of Down syndrome. So I'm terribly sorry to say that, you know, he may have Down syndrome. And then after that, I just heard Down syndrome, and I just thought, I couldn't hear anything else. I know he was blabbering on, but I couldn't hear him. It was just, I was in a daze. I'd gone by then. I just kind of like shut down, and I just feel it was just very insensitive, not needed, insensitive, and I'm not like, I know when I've mentioned this before, people have said, oh, well, what did you expect? Did you not want them to tell you that your child had a disability? Well, you'd be crying afterwards saying, why didn't you tell me? It's not even that. I mean, I wouldn't even have minded I would actually have appreciated if you had just said, it looks like he may have Down syndrome. I mean, don't be terribly sorry, because like I said, Down syndrome is, that is them. They're never going to get, it's not a disease. They're not going to get cured. You know, they're not going to take a magic pill or take an injection, and they're not going to get cured of it one day. That is Musa. He is born with that extra chromosome. So there wasn't any need to be terribly sorry about, you know. He has it or he doesn't, you know, and that's fine. You know, we're going to send his bloods and we'll find out if he has it. If he has it, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll get the support you need, was maybe what I needed to hear that time, not his features. And I'm sorry. I mean, it just really did knock my mental health, because it's all I saw for the next year. That's all I saw in him. Every time I looked at him, he looked different to me. He didn't look like the older two. I keep doing pictures, collages of him and all the other family members, and I'd zoom into his eyes, and you know, it really did affect my mental health. And I'd cry for ages, because I'd think to myself, yeah, they're right. He looks Down syndrome. He doesn't look like us. He doesn't look like his brother. He doesn't look like his sister. He looks Down syndrome. But you know, it's not true. You know, he's more alike than different.
Of course, he's an individual, and that's amazing. So, what was your biggest worries when the doctor said that I'm sorry, he's got Down syndrome, even though there was nothing to be sorry about? It's like you said, it's the way it's that. But what were your biggest worries?
I think my biggest worries at the time were acceptance, how he was going to be accepted, whether he was going to be accepted, you know, by, you know, friends, family, community, you know, our society. You know, there's such a stigma of, you know, disabled kids within our you know, just our Asian community. You know, you don't see them, they're never around, because they're just always at home. People keep them at home. Is it, I don't know, what is it? I mean, I've been told a lot of times when I've been out and about with him and I've been feeding him through his feeding tube, I've been told by aunties, don't come out with him, you know, keep him at home, you know. I don't know, what is it? Is it that people feel embarrassed? Is it because people feel that, you know, I know I've had comments that, you know, what have you done? You must have done something very bad in your life to have been dumped with that. So is it, you know, that whole stigma thing was playing on my mind at the time when I heard Down syndrome. And it did, although it never stopped me from going out, because as soon as I came home with him, I found out where the massage groups were, I found out where the baby groups were. And as hard as it was for me, Simon, I just packed things and got out with him, because I thought, no, I'm not gonna let myself get into that stage. I don't want to keep him at home. He doesn't need to be hidden away. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. He is who he is. And having needs, having extra needs, having to need anything, whether it's medicine or a feeding tube. I know I get a lot of comments online, when people do see, because I'm not scared or ashamed to share who he is completely. So if you watch my things, you'll see I share from his great moments to his feeding tube, to how he's fed down his feeding tube. I don't hide any of that, because to me it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's nothing to hide. Some people eat with their mouth, some people eat down the tube. It's a completely normal way of eating. So I never wanted to put myself in that phase of mind where I was just going to stay home with him. So I took him out. I know I did get looks, people will say, oh, why did he look different, or his eyes look different, or because when he was a newborn, they were like they were just quite slanted that time when he was a newborn. They kind of died down now, but at the time they were very slanted. So I would get, like, when I'd go to baby groups, mums would say, oh, because he was very small as well. And children with Down syndrome, basically they're born with something called hypertonia, which is a low muscle tone in all their body. So they kind of like, that's why they learn to eat, talk, crawl, walk. It takes them longer because of hypertonia. So with his hypertonia, he couldn't keep his head up for, it was like, I think it was about 8-9 months, and he still couldn't keep it up. So obviously mums found that weird. So a lot of times when I'd be at mum's group, or they'd say, oh, how old is he? And I'd be like, oh, he's 6 months. And I'd be like, oh, but why is he like that? But why is his neck like that? Why does it stay? So then I'd have to like explain to them that, oh, he has, he's got this syndrome, and it's fine. It's he will grow out of it. He will strengthen. It'll just take its time, but it will. So it's just, I don't know, going back to what you said about how I felt, was all that the fact of what were we going to be accepted? Was I going to be okay to live this life? Or even, to be honest, I even questioned my friends and family, because we don't have anybody within my group of friends. We don't have any children that have any sort of disability or additional needs, even in my family. So I kind of like, all those questions were going on in my head, that what are they gonna think? Are they gonna be okay with him? Are they gonna think that, did I do something wrong, or did I do something wrong when I was pregnant with him, or are they gonna accept him? But yeah, I think with my friends and family, I was quite lucky actually. So I didn't have any sort of clashes like that. But I think with the Asian community, there is so much that needs change.
Absolutely. I mean, being an Asian female myself, I think it's the actual, we don't worry about the actual situation. We actually worry about what are others going to think about the situation. Hence, we don't end up giving the 100%, intention or to solve the problem or anything. It's more so, what are others going to say? But it seems like with your social media that I have seen, you're very consistent on educating people, not only the Asians, but also the society in general, because there does seem to be a lot of lack of education in terms of accepting disability, or even understanding disability and what's it like, because like you said, oh well, I'm sorry. Well, you don't need to be sorry.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and that's him. So what made you, because obviously you had these worries, then what made you just go out there and start creating TikTok videos with Musa? What made you do that?
Right. Well, like I said in the beginning, the first year of his life, I'm not going to lie, it took a deep effect on my mental health. So even though I pushed myself to go out, it just meant that every day if I'd go out to a group and I'd be there for an hour, I'd come back home and I'd probably cry for a couple of hours because it become too much for me. It just become too much answering everyone's questions, seeing other kids similar age of him doing different things that he wasn't doing yet. So getting my head around the fact that he wasn't doing those things yet, and he's not going to be doing those things anytime soon, or just accepting him for how slow or fast he's going to be growing. I did struggle with that, especially seeing other kids around me and constantly being asked questions: why he's not doing this, why he's not doing that, is he not eating, why he's not eating, so the first year was, like I said, it was a lot of crying. I cried a lot, and I was just in a dark place. After the TikTok videos, basically what I did was slowly I started just opening social media pages, and I've always been kind of conscious with recording myself, because I've never really been that type of person. Like now when my friends see me post these videos and all that, they'll be like, wow, like how do you, you were never like that. So this was not me, and I would never record myself and share it so strangers could see me. I'd never, or put pictures up and stuff like that. But my reason, I just feel like I had to become strong for him, because I'm his voice, and I realized that I needed to be his voice, because there were so many times when I'd be out and about with him, and people would just say things like, I remember when I was in Costa once and I was feeding him down his feeding tube, and somebody said, oh, it was a lady that said, oh, why would you want to have a child like that? You should have aborted him when you were pregnant, so I realized every time things like that used to happen, although I used to feel sad and upset about it, and I did used to come home and cry because I never used to answer anyone back. It made me strong, and it made me realize that I actually want to be a voice, not just for him, but a voice for people generally with disabilities, that it's okay. Like, a lot of times, like last week, somebody left a comment saying, they're a burden. When they grow up, they'll become a burden. It's all right, he's cute now, but when he grows up, he'll become a burden. But and one of my followers did send me a really sad message the next day, saying, because she read it, and she has a disability herself, and she's fed by a feeding tube. So she said it really made me sad when I read that, because sometimes I feel like that's how the world sees us, and I struggle to ask for help because of that reason. So I feel like I needed to do something to become his voice, because I want the world to kind of like just see that, our life, as soon as people hear that, oh, she has a child with Down syndrome, I think they just think that it's doom and gloom. They think you're sat in your house crying, or feeding them medicine, and they just sat there and they're not doing anything, and it's just a doom and gloom life. And I felt like I just wanted to show an insight into a real life family who were living with a person with Down syndrome, and that our life isn't a doom and gloom. If anything, it's hardly doom and gloom.
It must be a busy life, but it's not doom and gloom.
Yeah, Do you know, actually, to be honest, he makes life more fun. He's come and made our life even more fun. He makes life even more, you know, like he's always doing things. He's always making us laugh. You know, whenever we're going out, he's doing things and getting people's attention and making us laugh. And, you know, it's not really the way that's one of the reasons why I started the videos, because that's what I wanted to show. And also I wanted to show because Musa's not talking. He's at the moment he's non-verbal, so
Okay.
we don't know whether that's going to change. He does have some kind of hearing loss. They're not sure yet as to whether it'll get better or it's going to stay like that, but he does have some kind of hearing loss, so that's kind of like stopping him from hearing words and picking up words. So he's not actually talking. So because he's not talking, we're doing Makaton signing with him, and it's a form of sign language that you use for Makaton is more for people with learning disabilities, because it's more like signs and speaking. So you don't just sign, you talk as well. So you'll say, go and get your book, but you'll say it and you'll sign the word book. So it's to help them pick up words and to actually help with speech development. So what I wanted to show was that sign is also a form of communication. I know I get asked all the time, oh, why is he not talking? But I don't see he's not talking. I see he's communicating because I don't look at talking. You know, you don't have to just talk to communicate. Communication is a really huge, you know, it's so huge, and you can communicate through anything. You can communicate through your eyes, through your sadness, through your tears. You know, you don't have to communicate just by talking. So I wanted the world to know, and then again our Asian community, because I think I think they find it hard sometimes, because like it's not something that a lot of people do in the Asian community. So it's like if you know, sometimes even when Asian aunties have seen him do that, they'll be like, oh, why is he doing that with his hands? And I'll have to explain that, oh, that's the way he's talking, that's the way he talks. So you know that you were saying he doesn't talk, he does, but that's the way he's telling me what he wants. So so they'll be like kind of confused, because I don't think they've ever, like, you know, seen anybody kind of like do sign language.
Do you get offended by certain questions, like just like you said, well, why is he doing that with his hand? Does it offend you at all?
Sometimes I can. Sometimes it does offend me. I think one of the questions that offends me is which I get a lot as well, is why did he stick his tongue out? That's one of them that kind of like just kind of gets to me whenever it's because, and I think it gets to me because a lot of times sometimes, you know, it's people that I know that will say it, and it's easy advocating to strangers. It's sometimes hard to advocate to your own family and friends, because sometimes you want them to just get it, you just want them to understand it. But I realized that I had to even kind of like constantly empathize it to them. So, you know, even people that I know would say, oh, why has he got his tongue out? Why does he do that? You know, tell him to put it back in. But they don't understand that it's not about telling him to put it back in. He doesn't stick his tongue out because he's not being told to put it back in. He's doing it because the muscles around his mouth are too weak to keep his tongue in. So it's just like if somebody said to me, get your tongue out. I could take it out for a bit, but after a while I'd have to put it back in, because that's my norm. For his norm is to keep it out. So for some time during the day, he does keep it in. He is now kind of like building up muscle tone. So he does go quite a long time during the day where he will keep it in. But then there comes a time where when he relaxes, he lets it out, and he'll just sit there with his tongue out. But I always do get like, you know, tell him to put it back in, or just keep poking it back in. But I kind of, the reason I get offended is because I feel like I'm constantly having to keep at it all the time. Like, you know, it's just like, that's just the way he is. And I'm not going to keep telling him to put it back in.
Of course not. Again, it just goes back to the lack of education certain people have. I mean, in today's world, we've got so many different sources that can educate us. We've got Google, we've got so much more. We can just go on our phones. That instead of asking the question directly, they can actually go back and educate themselves. But sometimes I just don't understand why people have to ask questions, knowing that it's a question that doesn't really need to be asked.
Yeah.
And it really is upsetting, because that's unfortunate that that's the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Which I wanted to move on to, but it's the same topic in regards to social media. So obviously you have got a platform where you do Makaton sign language, and you educate others. Have you received a positive response, or do you feel negative, or is it in between?
No, I think it's mainly been positive. They've been now here and there we'll get the negative stuff, you know. But why does he have to be like that, or why can't he just talk? But I think generally it's kind of like, I feel it's kind of opened eyes to other parents, their eyes. Like I've got so many messages of mums who have messaged me saying, you know, I'm so glad I'm you know, I just came across you today on Facebook, or I just came across you today on Instagram, and I've watched all your videos, and you know, you've given me hope, because I never knew that I could, you know, I never knew that I could talk to my child like that. Because I think I think Makaton is something that's it's not something that everybody knows about, or maybe there's not enough resources out there for people to learn. I mean, I know there isn't enough resources out there for people to learn. I think maybe parents need to be more informed about it, and I think especially with the Asian community, again going back to that, I think it, it needs to be informed to them. I think through another Asian person, you know, yeah, because they relate to that. So, you know, when people see me, and that's one of the reasons, going back to when you said why I started making videos, was because I felt like there was no Asian, especially Muslim person online showing that, look, this is, you know, I'm Muslim, and you know, this is the way, you know, this is the way we live, you know, this is our life, as a this is we this is how we live, and we've had a child with Down syndrome, and this is our day-to-day life, this is how we live, this is how we communicate. And that it's you, sometimes you watch things that you're related to. So it's like, I even know, because when I first got the diagnosis, I remember going on the internet and trying to find mums of or families with children with Down syndrome, and the only families that ever came up were, you know, just, you know, English parents or American parents. There was nothing for me to relate to, because yeah, they had that side, that they had a child, and they had that family life of a child, bringing up a child with Down syndrome, but it didn't resonate with me. It wasn't deep enough for me. You know, I wanted to click on and find somebody that looked like me, that was dressed like me, and was doing things. And I think that's what people see, and that's what they get that's what draws them to our
Yeah.
channel, because they think, oh, what's going on here? You know, she's, you know what, let's watch this, because, you know, she's a Muslim, you know what, you know what, and you know, she's, oh, look, her toddlers talks to her as well. He can actually communicate, which he can actually communicate through sign now. So I think that's what needs the I think that's what the medical professional side need, really. They need it, the language side to be they need more diversity in there. They need people showing them, you know, from our own backgrounds, so that it's relatable to them. You know, like I've teaching Musa the Arabic sign language at the moment, because at his age he probably would have, you know, my other children were going to mosque. Well, when they were 5, they started to go to mosque. He's 4 at the moment. So if he didn't have communication problems, I would have probably been looking for a mosque for him, you know, where he would be going next year. But, you know, I'm not, because I'm stuck because it's not anywhere that's going to cater for his needs, because he's not actually talking, he's not actually reading anything. So I'm actually teaching him myself sign. So he's learning the Arabic alphabet through sign. So again, I show that because I want parents to understand that it's not the end of the world. Your child's not talking, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. They can still learn the alphabet. It doesn't matter. Speech will come. If it comes next year, if it comes 2 years later, it doesn't matter. In the meantime, Musa will have learnt the alphabet and he'll know it in sign as well. So actually, to be honest, he'll have learned double. At the time that those kids would have learned only how to read it, he'll have learned to sign it as well. So actually, they'll have learned double. So I want to show people that it's okay. You know, they don't have to be stuck because they're not talking. They don't have to be stuck right now where they are. They can carry on, but it's a different way of living. And you know, like I was saying to someone yesterday, that just because you have a different way of living, you might need to be fed by a feeding tube, or some people need glasses, some people need hearing aids. Just because you need things doesn't mean that you're not going to succeed in life, or you're not going to be successful. I never look at Musa and I don't his feeding tube, that he's not feeding yet and he's not talking yet. I don't see all that and ever think to myself that he's not going to be successful, because success has got nothing to do with your obstacles. You know, that's your strength. You're going to show enough strength to fight your obstacles. So it just means that some areas he's going to work a little harder, and he is. Some areas he's working a little harder, but again, you know, it doesn't mean that his life is any less worthy, or any, you know, people with disability, that their life is any less worthy, you know, or that they're not going to achieve, or we are definitely going to achieve more than them. We don't know. I mean, I know I got sometimes when I used to think about his Down syndrome, and I used to, you know, dwell on the future, and I used to think, will he get married? Will he have kids? You know, will you know, what will happen when we die? You know, who's going to look after him? Will he be on his own? But then I stopped thinking like that, because you know, one day I was talking to somebody and they said, well, how do you know your older two are going to get married and find love and be loved and have children and be happy in life? How do you know? And I think to myself sometimes, yeah, how do I know? They don't have any sort of syndrome, but how do I know they're going to get married? There's plenty of people that aren't married. There's plenty of people that don't have children. So how do I know they're going to find love? How do I know they're going to be happy? So actually, Musa's just like that then, and for everybody, it's just a hit and miss then, isn't it?
Absolutely. It seems like so you stopped worrying after worrying so much, which is natural. But you actually took control of everything and thought,
Yeah.
right, okay, yes, so he will have barriers, but I'm going to take control and help him succeed, just like any other human being would need a little bit of support for success, which is fantastic, because I personally feel that any parent, sorry, that is struggling by watching and listening to this particular episode, I think it would really helpful for them.
Yeah.
Just moving on, actually, was we noticed something on your TikTok, which you posted not very long ago, but you didn't get exactly positive comments. It was really in regards to when you've had a few TikTok videos kissing Musa on the lips. And there seem to be a lot of negative comments, and you have responded to them as well, which I do think is very brave of you. I mean, if you can talk me through that. So what exactly were the comments, please?
Yeah, so the comments were, I think they were half and half. There were Asian people, and also comments from the other society as well. So it basically, from our side, I kept getting the haram, that is haram, you shouldn't be doing that, he's your child, you shouldn't be doing that. I think there were some people were saying, oh, he's because he's mentally not right, he's going to never learn that he shouldn't go and do that. But to me, he is learning all the time, and it's just like, it's just like feeding. You're not going to always eat runny food, but you start off with that because your child can't swallow. So yeah, he's kissing me now, but it doesn't mean that when he's going to be 20, he's still going to be kissing me on the lips, because as we're human beings, we evolve and we grow and we learn, and that's how I see it. And I've done the same with my older two, and I they've grown. Like I said, they're 15 and 16 now. They're not coming around kissing me on my lips anymore. You grow and you evolve and you learn, and it just happens. Nobody tells you to stop doing anything. You just automatically, children, as they're growing, they'll do certain things, but as they grow older, they won't do those things anymore. So for me, it's a natural thing that he will come and just kiss me on my lips, and I've never, like I said, even with my older two, I've never really had a problem with it. I am starting to see that there are a lot of people out there that do have a problem with it. So I just wanted to get the message out to people that it's each to your own. It's because you're seeing me do it. I'm not putting a gun to your throat and saying you go and do it as well. That's fine if you don't want to do it. If that's not your way of showing affection to your child, I understand that. I actually do understand your side. I just want you to understand my side and think this is my way. We all parent differently, and I'm parenting like this, and just trust me on that. He's not going to be kissing people when he's like, somebody commented saying, "Oh, he's going to grow up kissing everybody," and I said, but my 16-year-old isn't going around kissing everybody though, so I don't really think he's going to be doing that. And to be honest, he's 4 now and he doesn't go around kissing anybody. He only kisses me on the lips. He doesn't even kiss his nursery teachers. He doesn't kiss anybody on the lips. So it looks like he does realize that this is my safe place. So I'm his safe place. So he doesn't feel that connection with everybody. So he's not going around kissing everybody. So I think the main thing here is that I think people forget that it's not your child, and it's not your position to tell me what to do. And yeah, I'm quite proud of myself for being brave enough to answer them back as well, because like I said, I never was that person. And even now, when my friends do see stuff like that, they just do think, wow, did you just do that? You would never do that before. But I think having Musa really it has opened my eyes and my world in a different, so much differently. I see the world differently now. I just before I was the type of person that even if I saw somebody else saying, if I was outside and I heard somebody say something to somebody, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be those people that would quietly walk away because they think, oh, I don't want to get involved. But I'm not that person anymore. Like now, if I see somebody saying something to somebody, I'd be like, well, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that to her? What's it got to do with you? And I think I realized that I just needed to be a voice for people, because there isn't a voice out there. There's very few voices out there. And as Muslims, we believe, don't we, that whatever we're given is for a reason. So as from my faith side, obviously I believe that whatever we're given in this life, there's a reason we're given it. There's a reason those things that story is yours. And I feel like that was God's reason for giving him to me, was that those are the families that are going to speak out. Those are going to be the voices. We are not going to be the quiet ones. We are going to be the ones that are going to be speaking out. So I look at my situation and don't really feel sad for myself anymore, because I think, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what this whole story was meant to be for me. And yeah, I feel proud of myself for
Honestly, because you are doing very well. I've seen your platform, and of course I follow you in all your social media accounts, and I absolutely love watching your videos, love Musa so much.
Oh,
Honestly, he's lovely. He's very lovable.
yeah.
You mentioned earlier about the Asian culture and how it's just not accepted. And you said something about somebody said that you must have done something really
Mm.
bad in life for you to be punished or whatever with this. I mean, how did that make you feel? Because that's a nasty comment to make.
Yeah, I know, and you'd be surprised how how many people actually believe that, because it's like, even like sometimes people will say it, but not in a way where they'll try to kind of like sugarcoat it, because they'll be like, oh, maybe if you read this that many times, he'll be okay one day, he'll be okay one day. And I'll try to explain to them that, no matter how many times I read, yeah, that thing is good what you're telling me to read, but, and I've got any problem with reading that, but um I just want to let you know that no matter how many times I read that, and I can read it all my life, he's never going to wake up without Down syndrome, because that is who he is, because that chromosome's never going to go. It's in him. It's just part of him. So he isn't going to be different. Yeah, I can read things to make my life easier. I can ask God to help me to make things easier for me, but not to completely take away his syndrome. That's not going to happen. So I think in the beginning it was quite upsetting, because you do kind of like start questioning yourself. You do start thinking, well, did I, did I do something, or am I not a good person? But I think over the years, I just have come to the realization that it is you know people have those thoughts because like you said, it's a lack of education, it's a lack of knowledge, and not just lack of education in the fact that when it comes from people who share the same faith, it's not doesn't just show a lack of education in the fact that they don't know about Down syndrome. It shows a lack of education in your own faith as well, because as a Muslim, even as I because stuff like that made me go and want to learn and find out answers, and think to myself, well, did I do something wrong? And that's why I ended up with a child with a disability. And you know I've my faith showed me that it wasn't because I'd done anything wrong. It was actually because God favored me with it. And he chooses you to be a advocate, a parent to a child like that. It's an honor for you. And it, I, when he was a baby, I used to read this stuff, and it was just like, it was kind of like just a fairy tale. But now, as he's growing, Simon, I can actually do feel the honor, and I do. It's like he's 4 now, and as he's, like I said, as he's growing, I feel it. He is. It is such an honor to be his parent, to be in his life. He's such an amazing little boy. He picks up on people's moods. He picks up on, like, sometimes when I tell the older, if the older ones aren't doing their school work or something like that, if I can like just raise my voice, he'll come and put his hand on my lips, because he doesn't want me to shout at them. He doesn't want them to be shouted at.
Oh,
So he'll put his hand on my lips, because he doesn't want me to talk. And he'll just cuddle me, because he wants me to calm down. And it just like, this is, especially with all this COVID, and you just realize that you feel so grateful for love around you. And Musa has so much of that to give. And I just feel like it's a shame when they don't see it. I don't really feel sorry for him. At one point I did used to feel sorry, thinking that, why can't people see that you're such a lovely boy, and you're such a lovely human being? Why can't they see that? But I don't really feel sorry for him anymore. I actually feel sorry for people that can't see that, because I think it's your loss. It's your
yeah.
loss. Can't see how amazing he actually is. And even though you're going to write a nasty comment about him, I bet you if he saw you in real life outside, he'd go and give you a hug. He'd actually love you, because he wouldn't love you unconditionally, because that's what he does. He loves everybody and everything, even like animals. So I don't like I said, I don't really see his loss anymore. I just think it's people's loss. It's people's loss. If you're gonna write a comment like that, it's your loss. And yeah,
That's amazing for you to have that kind of mindset, because not many out there do, because of people writing nasty comments and commenting nasty things. It really does affect people's mental health. The fact that you take control of it and use it as a tool.
Yeah, and that's why as well, a lot of times, people will say, or you know, I get it all the time, like, or I see on other people's pages where people will say, oh, just forget it, don't talk about it, because they're scared that you're going to get backlash. They're scared that there's going to be more people contradicting you. But I feel that that's where we go wrong, because when there's a lack of education in a certain area, you don't stop talking about it because of the backlash. You've you know some of us, yeah, it's like you said, some of us have thick skin, so I feel like I do just read stuff, a lot of things I read, and I'll just ignore it, or I'll call them out. But yeah, the other people that aren't similar to me, where it'll be dwelling on them, they'll be thinking about it. I've heard people get these closed accounts down because they haven't been able to take it anymore, because they can't take the constant negativity. So it's like, I don't understand why people don't realize that, when why do people watch things that they don't want to watch? That's something I don't get, and I've never understood that. Like, I say that all the time in my videos as well, and I ask people that, look, I don't understand why you watch me if you don't like me, because I'm on the internet, or I'm on TikTok, and if I don't like a certain video, I don't sit there and watch it and then think, right, I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna watch the full video, and then I'm gonna put a nasty comment on because I don't like it. I'm not gonna watch it.
Of course, exactly. It makes no sense, and they actually even tend to follow you as well to
Yeah.
watch your content. So it is really confusing, but it seems like it's more so people follow to want to write negative things than positive, and maybe even get a reaction out of it. And I just think you respond in such a beautiful way, because all all the time I've seen it, you've always responded positively, but also you've educated that person. And I
Yeah.
do think that's an amazing quality that you have got, and not many people have that
Oh, thank
quality.
you.
Just before we do finish off, what advice would you give to people that are watching and listening this episode, please? Listening to this episode.
Well, if you've got a child with additional needs, what I want you to know is that, I know I get a lot of comments with that mums, dads will comment saying, oh, you're an amazing person, or you're an amazing mum, or I want to be like you. I'm not like that. I'm not like that with my child. I don't have that much patience. One thing I want people to understand is that nobody is actually perfect, and neither am I. I mean, you see 1 minute of that's 1 minute that TikTok let you make a 1 minute clip. So that's 159 seconds. It's a 1 minute clip. Do you know what? I have times where I lose my patience. I have days where I cry. I cry because it is too much. I have days where it's too much and I can't take it. So I just think to myself, right, I'm calling it a day now. I'm just going to cry today. So don't look at parents like me that are online and think to yourself that you're any less of an amazing parent, because you see your whole day, but you only see 1 minute of mine. So don't compare your whole day to 1 minute of mine that's filtered. And I'm being honest with you now, it's filtered, it's edited, it's cut. There's bits that I cut out where he's not signing, where he's not
Yeah,
looking. I cut those out. I'm being honest with you.
very nice of you.
You know what I
Very
mean?
nice.
I'm being blunt and honest with you. I cut them out. If you look clearly, there'll be parts where you'll see it's jumped from one, or we've jumped from one position to another, or the lighting has changed, because I've cut. He's stopped responding. I've cut him. I cut it off. I thought, right, we'll come back, and we've probably filmed again after 10 minutes or 20 minutes. So it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, and I'm not perfect, and our life isn't perfect. Honestly, it's it's nice, it's enjoyable, it's also a mess, and
Yeah.
you know, there's good days and bad days, and everybody's life is like that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I will definitely let you know if I do get any responses, because we usually do get a lot of people responding in our emails, wanting to get in touch with our guests just to get some more advice. But before we go, can I please meet
Come on,
Sam?
now why have you gone there? Come on, they want to see you now. They want to see you in here. Come on. Come on, they want to see you in here. Oh, they're calling you. They're calling you. They said, oh, Musa. Yeah. Oh, look.
Hello.
And you can say hello. Say hello, people. Hi, guys. Say hi.
Oh,
And you can say, how are you? How are you? And you say, how are you? How are you? Good boy. Say, I'm good. Say, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah.
Does he go to school?
So he's at nursery at the moment, and he's going to be going to school in September. Yeah.
Is it mainstream school or special needs?
He's going to a special school, only because he's not talking and not eating. So I just feel like he'll get the support he needs. Again, you know, any parent who's listening to this, honestly, even your children going to a special school doesn't make them any less worthy. Doesn't mean they're not going to succeed in life. You know, they're going to do great things. You know, every individual is on this planet for a reason, and I truly believe that we're all on here for a reason. I can't do your job, you can't do mine. What you're sent here to do, you're going to do that, Simon. And what I'm sent here to do, I'm going to do it. No one can take over that. There's a place for them as well. There's something they're going to do that nobody else can do, and that's why they're here. And believe that, honestly, these kids amaze you.